Welcome back to Dice to Pixels. Sarah, Adrian, execute episode 66.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
That's why I wanted to do that.
Nerds. All right.
We're just missing the whole killing Jedi thing.
Hey, you don't know what didn't happen.
I just tried to use the Force there. It didn't work.
Well, I was going to say we're not Jedis. I don't think we are.
Yeah.
No,
So
that's true.
they didn't kill the Sith.
I know.
Yeah.
Only the Jedi.
Ugh.
So Microsoft and Blizzard / Activision are maybe finally closing things
Maybe,
up.
yeah. Looks like here there was a source familiar with Microsoft revealed that they're looking at Friday, October 13th to finally close the deal.
Yes.
Friday the 13th.
Oh, come on now, Chad.
I know.
Knocking things over early in
I
the
used
episode.
the Force.
It was the Force. Midichlorians. It was the Force. Yeah. So a couple things. So there's a leak / insider information saying Friday the 13th. So fine, cool. It looks like they recently extended the deadline to October 18th. So it needs to get done soon. I mean, they can always extend it, but it needs to get done soon. And I was actually just reading up on the FTC side of things. So the FTC's appeal, which is not... So there's a couple stages here. So the FTC has asked for an appeal with the Ninth Circuit Court. If that's... They will know whether or not that's approved for appeal, theoretically, like early December. If it's approved for appeal, they still have to actually do the appeal. Like they'll retry the case, basically. But if they get shot down, that'll be the end of it. Because I don't think the Supreme Court is going to hear this case. I doubt they're going to hear this case.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the only next step after the Ninth Circuit is the Supreme Court. So so early December would be the day for that. Now they can go ahead and do the deal before that, but apparently if the FTC's appeal is granted and they were to win the appeal, which are two different things, they'd like unwind the deal, which seems fucky to me. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Like-
very strange.
Like if they weren't doing, like if it literally was just them like doing the deal and then nothing happened between the two of them, they were still separate entities, then that would make more sense. But like they're going to obviously start doing work together. So
Yeah. I don't know how that would work.
time travel.
Yeah, but I'm also reading bits here that are saying like that would be pretty unprecedented to be able to like unwind a deal like that. So my guess is that they'll lose the appeal on the face of it because they're, to my knowledge, their argument for why they're appealing, I haven't dug deep into it, but from what I know of it, it's like, well, no, like that's not a valid reason for appeal. Like there's no sort of new information, at least not really new information. It's like they just have a shaky ground to begin with. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. But based on what I've seen, I'm like, you're not going to win that appeal anyways. You're not even going to get the chance of winning the appeal, let alone actually win the appeal. So it's going to go ahead. It's going to go ahead probably on the 13th. And I expect that'll be the end of it. And we didn't actually mention, but the reason for the 13th is the UK has not actually, they gave their tentative decision earlier. They have not officially delivered their decision. They're expecting that to come in, any day now. And then as soon as that's done, they're clear to do the merge. So,
Yeah.
And then boom. Just get it over with, please.
yeah. Make it happen quickly so we can stop talking about it.
For real.
No, it'll be interesting. I mean, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's been going for 20 months now. So Jesus.
Fuck, it doesn't even I don't know. It doesn't feel that long,
Well, it also doesn't feel like we've been doing the podcast for that long, but
Yeah.
I mean, we have.
Yeah.
So.
Killing Jedi now, so
Not 20 months.
Yeah, I
quite.
was gonna say we
No,
haven't
no.
been doing it that long.
No, they started the deal before that, but
Yeah.
not that much before
No.
that. We're coming up on 20 months though, because
Alright.
episode
Oh,
80
Jesus.
will basically be 20 months. Give or take.
Ah.
We're getting there.
Yeah. 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 And then some more layoffs.
Yeah, bunch
Yeah,
more.
More layoffs. Telltale Games. They announced that they have laid off quite a number of people.
Yeah, from what I was seeing, apparently like most of their staff, apparently kind of similar to what happened in 2018, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They say that their in development games are still being produced.
The Wolf Among Us 2.
They'll
Yeah.
they'll tell us like 2 weeks from now that they're getting canceled. I mean,
Probably.
probably.
Yeah.
That's the way these things often work.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Maybe not. I mean, a lot of these game companies have way more staff than they need to make a
Mhm.
game.
Mhm.
Way more staff.
And Telltale's, I mean, like they're a good game studio, but I mean, pretty much all of their games are kind of like the same thing, though.
Right.
It's
Well-
those like kind of choose your own
It's basically choose your own adventure story
yeah.
with animation. That's really all it
and
is.
different like with different franchise. I mean, The Walking Dead, like their Walking Dead series was widely renowned as
Mhm.
like one of the better ones. Batman, I know they did one for Batman. They've done one. The Wolf Among Us was.
I think that was their first, was it not?
Yeah, it was a spin-off from the Fables comic series by DC
Mhm.
Comics.
Mhm.
But like it's been pretty much like the same kind of thing.
Yeah, well, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about a little bit the other week about like game engines and stuff.
Mhm.
So you get these studios that, their first foray, if assuming they make their own engine, which not every company does, but
Yeah.
their first foray is like a big effort, and like we need like tons of developers, and then either they build their engine and then they just decide to never do another one or whatever, and it's like, well, you don't need the same number of people. Like maintenance is different than creation, right?
Mhm.
So unless you're actually continuing to build that stuff again, you don't need as many people. Now, the argument there that I would make is, so fucking do something new and actually do something cool. But a lot of game companies don't do that. I mean, look at Bethesda. We were shitting on them about
Yeah.
Starfield, and the fact that it feels like Skyrim is like, you could have done so much more, but you didn't.
I wonder, there probably is. If you know, let us know in the comments. But I wonder why more people aren't hired under contract to develop game engines themselves. So then they're not on staff afterwards.
I would actually expect that a lot of these layoffs are contractors. I would anticipate. I don't
Probably-
know that,
yeah.
but even with a lot of the tech companies that were like laying up people off throughout the year
hmm
and last year, a lot of those were contracts. A lot. So
And they just basically were terminating them
yeah, well,
earlier than expected.
it's still technically a layoff
Mhm.
because it's no fault. That's basically the difference between a layoff and a termination. Now you can potentially terminate a contract early if it's like laid out in the contract that you can do that. But more often than not, what they'll do is they'll just say like, we're laying you off because we're laying off a bunch of people. Layoffs are when you want to early terminate a lot of people for no cause.
Mhm.
That's what makes a layoff. Otherwise, it's just an early termination, or in at-will employment states and countries, you don't really have to worry about any of this because you can just say like, hey, you're fired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, what is basically layoff as a term means there's a bunch and there's no fault. We're saying like, you didn't do anything wrong. We're just done with you.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the people that were laid off, they sent out a series of tweets saying that Telltale laid most of us off early September. So
Yeah.
I mean that, yeah,
Yeah. There's people that are getting like laid off, like on a delayed laid off,
Mhm.
which is what I got.
Mhm.
And like there's a bunch of different things that can happen that
Yeah.
that make sense in various, but I would be surprised if, especially for something like Telltale, I would be willing to bet that a bunch of those people were on contract.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it sucks. Like you're seeing that a lot lately, especially in like the video game world, well, in tech in general. Like just a ton of layoffs. Naughty Dog even announced that they were laying off some people as well.
Yeah.
And like when I'm saying that the Telltale games have all been the same, like by no means am I discrediting what they've done. Like I mean, they've made successful games, they've done good work, and I really hope that like all of those people that lost their jobs there find where other work in the industry. It's never good when somebody loses their job, man.
Sure, absolutely. And yeah, and I mean, making games that are similar isn't necessarily a bad thing.
It's worked for Madden,
but right. But it takes a hell of a lot less people to make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's the key. Like the truth is, the fact that they're like Epic Games, we laid off 900 people. I'm like, you had 900 people?
Yeah.
You don't need 900 people to make the games that you do. Like,
yep.
I mean, that's only partly true because Epic does actually make some engines. And so like that requires a lot of development. But like, I don't know. I think people that don't develop games have a massively inflated sense of how many people it takes to develop a game.
As one of those people, yes.
Yeah, like it's the long pole in your game development is almost always assets, graphics, text, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're trying to do something really crazy like what they're doing with Star Citizen for instance, or massively multiplayer games.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing where you get into like, okay, now we need like a lot of development because we're doing something that hasn't been done.
Mm-hmm. But
if you're just making like a fairly run-of-the-mill game that's been done before, it's like, A, you can probably leverage other stuff. And B, if it's already been done, you already know, like, you can tell how it was done pretty easily.
Yeah. It just makes every job after that much easier.
Yeah. Like, and that's why new studios tend to have a large development investment up front.
Mm-hmm.
But then once they've kind of done it, they're like, okay, well, like now we know what it takes. And now we've got something to work from. And yeah, like City Skyline 2 should not have taken as many developers as City Skyline 1, for example, because they're the same fucking game. I mean, I know they're not, but like, they shouldn't have had to do all that much extra work to make number 2. So, and I think we're just seeing that. I think some of these game development firms, like some of them are just struggling because they were a one-trick pony. I'm not saying that about Telltale. I'm just saying like some of them are struggling just in general.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of them I think are like, oh shit, turns out we could operate with like 20% of the staff we have and we're kind of dumb for not doing that.
Yeah.
So, I wonder if we'll see the development of more and more smaller studios going forward.
Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Yeah, I hope if that does happen, that we see more innovative games and more unique games rather than the same things that we're getting over and over again.
I'd just rather see like developers. I mean, so if you have like a hit, great, but don't constantly go back to like the thing, what I mean, the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Like branch out and try to diversify like what you do as a studio, right? Like don't be that one trick pony.
Or at least do it unapologetically. Like FIFA every year.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what you're getting. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever. But don't call it Starfield and make Skyrim.
Scrimfield.
Scrimfield, yeah.
So the reason I said, because obviously we've talked about it, and I hope that more small studios come up because they make the best games.
Yep.
Almost always.
Yep.
Right now is a tough time to be starting a new game company.
Yeah, there's that.
I mean, I say that maybe it's not because the gaming industry keeps growing, like sales keep growing, but like I gotta figure people are spending less on games. The reality doesn't seem to be bearing that out currently. I haven't seen any evidence of people not buying games, but I mean, people are saying they can't afford food, so I would assume they're not buying as many games.
Mm-hmm.
You would think.
But maybe not. I mean, people do weird thing in recessions. They tend to buy comfort goods a lot more. So I don't know. Hard to say, but I would expect this to be a bad time to start a game studio. I might be totally wrong because last I heard the game industry was still growing.
I think
Mhm.
that's where Kickstarter comes in for a lot of these, for a lot of game developers. Well, a Sea of Stars was a Kickstarted game.
Huh?
And I mean, that turned out to be fantastic. But like didn't you,
Yeah,
you
I
backed
just
one
backed
recently, didn't you?
Out and About. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it depends on who, like if it's a big name, and again, I'll go back to Bloodstained, and I can't think of his name offhand, Yugi or something, or I can't think of his name.
Doesn't
I'm
matter.
sorry, but he went and he was basically the lead on Castlevania Symphony of the Night, on a
Mhm.
lot of those like Castlevania, Metroidvania style games. He kickstarted Bloodstained. It succeeded, and when it came out, it was a really good game. It was a great game. So I'm wondering, I'm thinking that if like if there's a name behind it on a Kickstarter project, then that's probably the best bet to like start a new studio.
Like the
Uh,
credentials behind
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like if your street cred's good and stuff.
Sure. I mean, those aren't the people that are being laid off, though.
No,
No.
I know.
Yeah.
But
So like the people
I'm
getting
saying like starting a new studio usually kind of goes hand in hand with a Kickstarter.
I mean, some do. Most
Recently,
don't.
anyway.
I don't think that's true. Some
Yeah.
have, but
Yeah.
I don't think the majority have.
Hmm.
I think I would hazard a guess that more games get started through early access on Steam than kickstarting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually didn't even think about the early
Yeah.
access thing.
Yeah, like I
think-
could be wrong.
I think also because early access is so much easier to get into now than when it was when Steam first did it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, there is an argument around what we mean by studio too, because like if you're talking about like a 50-person studio, then yeah, you're probably needing to kickstart that, unless you have massive money in your account
Yeah.
somewhere. But I mean, small studios, we're talking like a couple of people sort of thing.
Hmm.
Some go to Kickstarter, but I think most of those just go to early access. So I don't know
I don't
though.
know.
I don't have numbers handy or anything, but I see a lot more early access than
Mhm.
I see Kickstarters.
Be interesting to try and find those numbers out.
We could take a look,
Yeah.
see if we can come up with something.
Yeah.
I bet they're not very public.
Probably not.
I mean, I'm sure they're very public, but hard to get. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I think the core team from Sabotage, it looks like they only have like 23 people on their team. So
Yeah, well, you don't need that many people to build a game, especially now. Actually, I think the most interesting thing that's going to happen with gaming is that you don't need a studio anymore. Developers can now release games. Like back in the day when my brother and I were working on the MMO that we were building.
Yeah.
We built the server, we built the client, everything was great. I wrote the engine for the client, we wrote the server, we wrote everything, it was great. The performance was off the charts, and then we sat down and started looking at making graphics for it. And we determined that it was going to take us years to make graphics and or like $300,000 to pay people to do it.
Jesus.
Nowadays, it's, a couple $100 in Dolly
Assets,
credits
yeah.
or whatever. Like either buy them from people that have already made packets or just talk to your local AI and have it spit out sprites and stuff.
Mhm.
Fiverr.
I mean, yeah, but honestly, Fiverr's expensive compared to,
Mhm.
Mid-Journey.
Yeah.
Hell, I mean, I get it for free now with Adobe.
Yep.
And most creators of one sort or another, a lot of them have Adobe because Adobe Firefly is now actually available and you can use it for commercial. So
And it does well.
it's
The
pretty
ones
good.
that you put in the Discord look really good.
It's not
Yeah.
bad. It's not quite as good as Mid-Journey, but it's pretty fucking good.
Mhm.
So like at this point, it's like, oh, maybe I should start writing games again now that I don't have to pay artists all the time.
There you go.
And I know there's artists that are like, fuck you, but I'm like, well, hey, like the artist can write the game with AI too.
Yep.
It does a half decent job of coding.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see where things go because I think a lot more people. It's never been more feasible for an individual or a couple of people to put together at least a working like demo, maybe not a full-fledged released game, but at least a working demo
Mhm.
using like massively leveraging the AI offerings.
And the amount of free things that you can get besides the AI itself.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
for
just-
sure. I
yeah.
mean, it's been going that way for a while because like the number of free assets and the number of, but like now you can generate your dialogue, you can generate your story, you can generate your,
Yeah.
you can just generate everything. You can generate code. I mean,
Yeah.
fuck, I'm a developer and I still have AI writing code sometimes because it's quicker. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting what happens because you really don't need a big studio anymore. Like you really don't need a big studio anymore.
Nope.
Unless you are doing something truly groundbreaking.
Well, I mean, so Game Pass last week there was a game that released on there called Cocoon.
Yeah.
I played it. I played the hell out of it over 2 days. Beat it, and it was another. So it's made by the game designer of Limbo and Inside. So this is it's a puzzle platformer, but it's visually it reminded me of Death's Door. But there's these orbs that you collect in the game, and each one has a specific power. So like the orange one will make bridges appear as you walk over them. The green one can make you'll see these like transparent, almost cloudy looking pillars, and when you stand in it and you hit like a button, they become solid and elevate you or descend and whatever. There's a white one that shoots energy blasts, and then the purple one basically can copy itself.
Sure.
But it was really, really fun. It was an insanely fun game. No real dialogue or anything like that. It just told its story visually, and it was fun. It was just a fun, quick little romp that, you know, when I was finished with it, I felt like, damn, like that was fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You were satisfied?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
It was really, really good. I was quite pleased with it, and it's been getting like fantastic reviews. Like obviously, it is a really good puzzle platformer. There was a few instances where I got stumped with like some puzzles, and then when I finally figured it out, I was just like, "Oh my god, you're an idiot." But I do that a lot, right?
Isn't that always the way?
Yeah, it's always the way. But yeah, no, I recommend it, man. It's like it's on anything, like everything, Steam, Xbox, and Switch, PlayStations, like it's on there. It's free with Game Pass if you have Game Pass. I'd recommend it. I can't talk about it enough. It's the second game this year that I've been like, oh damn.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'd heard or read someplace this week too that apparently, I don't know if it's been corrected yet or not, but there isn't a colorblind mode in this game yet. And so some people that have like full colorblind can't tell the difference between the orbs.
Oh.
So hopefully that gets corrected soon if it has not been already. That's a huge oversight.
Wow. Yeah, but an easy one to make.
Yeah.
Right?
If you don't have anyone on your staff that
If it's written by a few people, that's not a hard one to make.
Yeah.
That's pretty easy to overlook. It sucks, and I'm sure they'll fix it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were kind of like, oh fuck, didn't even think of that. That was actually back in the day. I wrote some calendaring software, and the manager was colorblind, and so I happened to think ahead to this because like it's for a university, and it's like they have requirements for this kind of stuff. So I had put in modes for that and everything, but that was like the first thing he looked at because he was like, I can't tell what the fuck this says. so he's like, how can I what can I? And I'm like, I'm way ahead of you. So I showed him, but yeah, like if you're not conscious of it, it's way too easy to overlook that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but no, it was really fun. I had a good time with it. All of it is like everything is controlled with the one analog stick, and you're literally pressing just one button the entire time. It's like the A button on PC.
It's a controller
Xbox.
killer.
Yeah, it literally the A button or the X button.
Yeah,
like that's it. That's the only button you're ever going to press in the whole game.
Yeah,
it does have boss battles, but the boss battles, each one kind of you needed to utilize the orb from that specific area that you found it in. But no, it was fun. It was a really, really fun game. I can't recommend it enough. Go try it out. It's Cocoon. It's fun. It's yay.
Yeah.
It's yay.
Yeah. It's not quite Sea of Stars level for me, but I mean, it's up there. It's in my top 5 of the year.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see more and more small games, which I think is the right choice.
Yep.
I'm getting pretty tired of overreachingly huge games.
Hmm.
It's such a commitment, and
That's it. Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't feel like gaming. It just feels like work.
Yes. Yes, that's it exactly. I think maybe that's part of why I bounced off of Starfield.
Oh, I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Starfield has a kind of a unique amount of bullshit.
Yeah.
Like things like the perk thing. Oh, you leveled up. So like that doesn't in and of itself give you anything.
No. You have to level up within it.
Yeah, you get a perk point. Great. But to spend the perk point, you've got to do a different mini game level up. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to actually get the next upgrade within that,
Well, that's
not
what I
only
mean.
you have to do that, but you have to use another perk point.
Yeah,
you
well,
know? Yeah.
that's what I mean.
It's-
It's like you level up to get the perk point to spend on the thing that you have to also level that attribute up in order to spend the perk point. It's a choice, which is why one of the first mods was like, turn that shit off.
Yeah.
Just eliminate that from the game. If you get a perk point, you can spend it. And some of them are overbearing. Like the medicine one is pretty rough. The level 3 medicine in order to rank it up to 4, you've got to use 100 med packs
Holy shit.
while damaged. Now, fortunately, you can cheese it like you can with almost everything in that fucking game. You can just use multiple med packs while you're damaged, but you still have to collect 100 med packs just for that perk. It's nuts. Like, it is a worky game. I think they made a lot of bad decisions with Starfield that kept it from being better than it is. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of you've been playing Cyberpunk a bunch.
Yeah, like I got into the 2.0 update with Cyberpunk, so we have a Freya down here.
Yeah, we've got a little Freya coming to visit,
which is very rare because Freya's she's a very timid cat.
She's not the most sociable cat.
No, but she's very happy today, so she came down to visit. So I got back into Cyberpunk, and I'm finally getting into it. Like I had a really, really hard time getting into it when it first came out. And I got it on PC, and then when the next gen versions came out, I still kind of had a hard time getting into it. The 2.0 update came out, and I finally I've gotten into it. I don't know. Now I can't really comment on how physical changes the update, how whatever they changed with the 2.0 update. How it's,
you didn't play much of the original.
I don't know. I know the driving feels better. The gunplay feels a lot better. And you actually have a choice in like how you tackle certain missions and stuff like that. I mean, we were talking about it over dinner. There's a bunch of cyber psychos in the game that you can take down. And the person that's requested it has asked, maybe we can try and take them alive, which is sometimes easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a few instances where I would, kind of be sneaky, whatever, and use your hacks to distract the enemies and all that stuff so that you can get behind them and, non-lethally take them down. I don't know if there was a reward difference between Alive or Dead because I never really noticed.
There will be. Cyberpunk. The Cyberpunk's pretty good about that.
Yeah, but just it wasn't I could have went in guns blazing on a bunch of missions. There were some missions where I literally just walked in the front door, knocked out 2 guards, found my target, and then just walked right out.
Yeah, well, at least Cyberpunk, Cyberpunk of all the recent huge undertaking games, like the massive games, now Cyberpunk has done a good job of it. Obviously, when it came out, there were
bit of a trash fire.
Yeah, it was not ideal. But yeah, I mean, now with Phantom
Liberty.
Yeah, Phantom of Liberty. It's great. It's what you would expect from a studio that's spending massive amount of resources, both money and time, to build this kind of stuff. Like it's what you should get. There's non-lethal options. The dialogue actually has fucking consequences to the story.
Well, the dialogues don't look the same. Like this was one of the things I think it was a Reddit thread that that I had read where comparing like Starfield and Cyberpunk, and like when you have a conversation in Cyberpunk, it's not always like it zooms right in and you're always seeing like the same, you know, kind of posture and stance and all that crap. Like it's dynamic where like if somebody's sitting down there, then you're not like focusing right in front of them. Like they're just sitting there. And
Yeah, I saw a bunch of people commenting on that, and you know, fair point. It's, you know, obviously Cyberpunk does that better than Starfield or Skyfield. But that's not what makes Cyberpunk's dialogues good. I mean, it's a thing and it's noticeable and it's good. Like it's a hell of a lot better than the way that Bethesda did theirs. But what makes Cyberpunk good is that at least with the dialogues there's some fucking like thread between conversations.
Mhm.
The number of Starfield conversations where it's like from one dialogue option to the next is just like schizophrenic. It's like there is no connection.
No, there's no flow. I'm finding actually, because I've been playing Outer Worlds a lot, it's the same thing there. Like there is a little bit of connection between conversations, but the conversations trees don't feel like they flow properly, like a normal conversation would. Whereas when I'm hearing Chad playing Cyberpunk, I can't even tell if like an option has popped up for him or if it's just ongoing regular dialogue, because it all flows so naturally.
It's much, much better done.
Yeah.
Like fair point to the people who have brought up like the visual differences in like the cutscene dialogue. Like, yes, absolutely, Cyberpunk's better, but it's not the zooming in on the face that makes Starfield's dialogue shit. That's like it feels old and it's crappy, but that's not what makes it shit.
Well, and that's it, is because it feels old and crappy.
Sure,
we've had this type of, you know, it's been like the Bethesda thing since what, Morrowind?
Pretty much, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I don't know if it happened for you guys, but there was a few times I would talk to someone unless I was like beside or in front of them, they didn't turn around. So I was talking to the back of their head and they were talking to a wall.
Yeah, they did not update the dialogue stuff in their engine at all, which I don't care that much. Like, it's dumb and it looks stupid, but I'll take that if you allow me to not have a loading screen when I enter my ship.
There's that.
Right? Like, one of those offends me way more as a gamer than the other.
But then also as a game that lauds itself as an RPG, that feels like that's bad.
Yeah.
That is just bad design.
Do better. I will say though, so I thought that all the loading screens in Starfield were because Bethesda's engine sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm less confident now. So I did a little test and I went to New Atlantis, and because the starport, when you go to the starport, you have to like take the train to get to any of the other places, or fast travel once you've been there. No, if you get a decent boost pack and you get like a couple of perk points, you can scale up, like bouncing off trees and stuff. You can scale up the cliff and into the commercial district or whatever.
Yeah. I've fallen from the commercial district by accident.
Right. I assumed it wouldn't load correctly.
No, you can run up there. You don't have to really go up there.
Oh, I didn't know there was an actual path.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that building that you can see. When you're in,
you can actually climb that.
I don't think you can climb it, but like there's a pathway across there that goes around that building. It's like a roadway, basically.
Yeah, I just didn't think it went up or down. Anyways,
yeah, there's entrances.
I thought that it was a limitation in the engine where like you would get to a point and you had to like enter a doorway or something to get it to load. But no, it's all loaded. So then it's like, well, if it's all loaded, then why the fuck are you making me? Do you have any idea how much better this game would be if you just like had the camera chase the transit instead of doing a fucking loading screen?
Mm-hmm.
I instantly would have had a higher like opinion of the game if you had just not why is the loading screen there if you don't need it? What's it loading?
Take advantage of the city that you have built, because it looks amazing from the ground, if it was chasing the train, but you were still able to look
Right?
around,
That'd
the
be way
amount
better.
that you could see of the city, that would be awesome.
Way better. I was staggered. I didn't even think about falling off. That would have been way easier. I fucking climbed it. Hard mode. But I was like, if this is all already loaded, why the fuck do I have a what? What
Yep.
were they thinking? It makes it seem so much worse than it actually is.
Yep.
I was floored. I was like, this is crazy. I don't understand this game anymore. I thought it was a shitty engine. Apparently, it's not that bad an engine. Apparently, it might even be a great engine. But some dipshit thought loading screens were a great idea.
Mm.
So, anyways.
And we don't hate Starfield.
No, I mean, I'm streaming it. I'm enjoying it for the most
Yeah.
part. Although the dialogue is pretty fucking bad.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying becoming a pirate king.
Yeah, and going back to I can't remember if it was a Reddit thread or if it was something that I had read somewhere, but somebody had brought up how they wished Starfield looked like the actual first person aspect of it looked and played like Cyberpunk, but then the space aspect of it was more like No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, like
Yep.
hell yeah. I
Yep.
mean, I would have loved to have been able to come into Alpha Centauri.
Yep.
Fly down to Jameson and then see the city just kind of, and land
Yep.
on the
Yeah, I
landing
mean
pad.
that's the first thing I said when Starfield, when we actually got hands on it, was like, why didn't you just buy No Man's Sky engine or whatever?
Yeah.
It would have been so much better.
Like that would have been dope. And then going
Yeah.
back to what we were talking about with like how Cyberpunk handled the dialogue and the talking to the various characters and personalities, whatever in that game. If that was like if you're talking to like Sarah Morgan or Barrett or somebody like that in Starfield, and it feels like a fluid conversation and not just like, the like shit.
Well, stupidly enough, actually, No Man's Sky even did kind of a better job with the dialogue there, because at least in No Man's Sky, like there was the mini game of like discovering the different languages, right? It added some intrigue to the conversation, at least.
Why wasn't that in Starfield?
Well, I mean,
you don't really encounter aliens.
which in and of itself is a little wonky, but whatever, fine.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, there's potentially thousands of different species of animals, but none were sentient. It's like, okay, yeah, sure, all right.
Oh, on
fine.
this planet, I found a praying mantis looking thing with pincers, but
Yeah.
on this other one, it didn't have them.
Yeah, there was no pincers.
No pincers.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like all of the, like, this is what I've said about Starfield from the very first time when I gave it the rating of like good. Is like, okay, you could have dynamically generated the creatures from using the same technology that Spore used, obviously a newer version of it, but
Yes.
same basic idea. No Man's Sky proved that like seamless loading and everything else is totally doable.
hmm
Cyberpunk had already demonstrated that like proper dialogue is doable. It's like what we should have expected from Bethesda, and what I kind of expected from Bethesda, is to take all of these different parts that other people have kind of proven. Like, if you're going to be a giant fucking studio with huge amounts of developers,
Mm-hmm.
I want you to take everything everybody else has done and
And do
make
it
something
better.
epic out of it.
Yeah.
Not like half-ass a new version of a game.
I think. Well, how long were they making Starfield?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Because
let me,
if in my mind they were making it for an insanely long time. Whether or not that's true, I have no idea. But-
As far as I know, God.
announced the development in 2018.
Okay, so not as long as I thought.
Well,
but
5 years though.
yeah.
I mean, I was going to say 6 or 7. But
Yeah.
Well, that's when they announced it, to be
Mm.
clear.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that's actually when they started it.
But I think maybe part of what part of the problem with it is that because they started it so early and games are at a certain level now and we have a certain expectation of it, they are going from ideas that were developed so long ago based off of like what was popular then and earlier and what worked well then. Like at the time, Skyrim, the way that it was done was amazing. They just didn't allow for the, all right, this is where this is now. We're so many years in the future. The technology is here. This is what people are expecting. We need to raise above this level to be the next Skyrim again. And they stayed on the same level.
Yeah. So there is absolutely something to be said for that. It is, you always have to be a little bit careful when you're shitting on a company for something that's been in the works for a long time, because some changes you do kind of get locked into.
Yes.
However, dialogue that has no connection from one thing to the next, that's not engine. That's nothing.
No.
Adding loading screens that don't need to be there, that's not, like, they deliberately made that choice. So like I agree. I think some of the stuff from Starfield is like they were locked into some decisions that maybe wouldn't have been the right choice. Like, for instance, buying No Man's Sky, like it wasn't out presumably when they started, or maybe it was. I don't know. But anyways, like that probably wouldn't have made any sense to try and do it with that sort of engine when they started.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we can see from some other stuff that it's like, okay, they didn't actually give a shit about the game.
Yeah, but more to my point was like they had this.
Sorry, it came out in 2016. No Man's Sky.
Wow, it's older than I thought.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying.
It's not just those decisions in themselves. It's like those were the standard of like this one other time when it made sense, and then rather than being like, all right, this was the standard, then let's raise the bar for everything, and they just didn't raise the right bars.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that they didn't raise the right bars, and it's weird because, like I said, like they literally added loading screens where they aren't needed.
Yeah.
Like somebody at some point, they built I'm going to harp on the gnat, the little train guy. At some point, somebody was working on that. And the default mode for that would be to have the train go from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said, let's put in a loading screen. Because there wouldn't be like, if everything's already loaded, which it clearly is, we can tell, there's no need for a loading screen. You can go on foot throughout the entirety of New Atlantis without a loading screen, except the well, because you have to go through a loading screen for that. So somebody built that train, and it worked without a loading screen. And then some fucking moron in the company said that needs a loading screen.
Yeah.
Because it's not like they magically appeared. Somebody decided it needed one, which means there is something horribly wrong at Bethesda.
And not only that, but they chose to do like an image loading screen.
Yeah.
They could have gone the way of
Anything.
old school God of War, where it's like, it literally, it's the train going across the screen.
Yeah.
And that was your loading screen.
It would have been better.
Yeah.
I feel like somebody, like the only way I can imagine this making sense is that somebody said, hey, instead of doing a longer tutorial, we're going to do like the help hints in the loading screens. And that's how we're going to train people to play the game. So we need all the loading screens. That's the only thing I can think of for why they would be there.
If you have played Starfield, let us know if you actually pay attention to those tooltips.
I mean, I've found a couple of them useful.
I don't always focus on them enough.
I don't
like
pay that much attention.
Space out at that point.
Yeah.
Like even in Skyrim, I barely paid attention until a few times, and I'm like, oh, and I'd been playing for like several tens of hours, and I'm like, good to know, and started using whatever tooltip it was.
But I usually use them to test my right and left bumper to see if they actually kept working and just scroll through them all.
I like that. That's good use.
But yeah, like that's the only thing I can think of is that somebody decided that they should throw in more loading screens so that you got more tooltips or something. Because, and I'm sure that's not what happened, but like that's the only thing I can think of. Because like I said, like literally the only way that loading screen came up, specifically the train loading screen, the other ones, hard to say, but specifically that loading screen, somebody made the choice to put that in there.
Yeah. I don't know.
Why? So there, like I said, there is something horribly wrong at Bethesda.
Is it because maybe it's considered a type of fast travel?
Well, maybe, except that the wait system already exists.
Yeah.
Right? Like they already have a system that does like the passage of time in like a time lapse, or I mean that in and of itself, they could have done a way better job with that. But like they didn't need to go to a loading screen for that.
Mm.
They could have
Mhm.
just done like a freeze frame on the train leaving and then a freeze frame and have it arriving. They didn't need to go to a separate, but somebody thought it was a good idea. It's very strange. I don't understand how that decision was made. And if I were anyone higher up at Bethesda and I saw that and put 2 and 2 together, I'd be like,
No.
yeah, like, who made this decision? I want them in my office like now. And then I want them to pack their shit and leave because, like, what the fuck? It's things like that you see. Like, I assumed that it had to load the rest of New Atlantis. As soon as I realized, this was last night that I discovered this. As soon as I realized that you didn't need to load the rest of it, that it was already loaded in, I was like, the fuck? That makes the engine seem so much better. Why would you hide that? The fuck is wrong with these people?
Because most of the people are just going to fast travel anyway.
Sure. Sure.
I
But
mean,
like,
But that's what the train already is, because
Right?
you can run around.
right?
and
If
in,
people aren't going to see your city that
That's
way.
so fucking
and in
weird.
comparison, I haven't run into a loading screen at all playing Cyberpunk.
No. Well, it's like a load
It's
free game.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
seamless. Like
Yeah.
the transition, like driving around the city, going into freaking buildings,
Yeah.
which was a big thing that really annoyed me about Starfield is
Oh,
like
Mhm.
how I had to like
only some of them though.
yeah. But yeah, no, I'm really comparing the two.
Oh, it's weird.
Right now I'm having more I'm enjoying Cyberpunk a lot more now than I enjoyed Starfield.
Yeah, I mean,
And I mean I'm at some point in the future, probably after an update or something, I'll go back and I'll probably do a lot of the side quests and stuff that I didn't do and whatnot, what have you. It's just right now I'm just
I bet you won't.
I probably won't.
No, I bet you won't. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's
I'll play through Sea of Stars for the 17th time. or something.
yeah, like I'm so my plan for Starfield is because I actually do kind of want to put it behind me. The only reason I'm still playing Starfield right now, like I am nominally enjoying it, but the only reason I'm playing it right now is because I started streaming it and then like fucked everybody over by doing too much of the main quest off screen. So I was like, I'm restarting and I'll play it through. And then I got sidetracked becoming a pirate king, which is cool. I'm generally enjoying that and everything else, but I'm basically done with that now, I think. And as soon as that's done, I'm just going to kind of like beeline the main quest.
Mhm.
This is just one of those alternate universes where you decided to be a total prick.
Yeah, it's the most real universe.
This is Prime, Adrian.
That's right. So like, I'm not intending to play it all that much longer, but I wanted to do a full uninterrupted stream. Well, not uninterrupted, but like a full stream from start to finish. Because that's something I want to start doing with a game at a time. Like whatever the game is, the next game might be Cocoon or I don't know, something. I want to start doing like stream a game from start to finish and then move on to the next one. And foolishly, I chose Starfield to start with because why not?
Because why not? Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's just you compare it to literally any other game, and it's
Yeah.
like this is uneventful. Like you didn't really do much in this game. None of it's better than anything else on the market.
Hmm.
So
And again, I didn't mind the story.
it's fine.
It was all right. Like
Actually, the main story with the
Yeah.
grav drive and everything is actually pretty good.
Mhm.
I like it.
yeah. So yeah, I didn't mind it, but yep. So moving on. What do we?
So I just pulled something up that we hadn't looked at before. This is
Excuse me.
fairly new information. Apparently, Epic Games has decided to add a per seat license fee for non-gaming uses of Unreal Engine.
Hmm.
So-
a what?
Yeah, so for a long time, if you wanted to make like a movie using Unreal Engine, it was free.
Oh,
There was no licensing fee. Apparently, they're going to change that.
I mean,
they-
that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable.
No.
Basically, they haven't said specifics, but Tim Sweeney, I guess at Unreal Fest 2023, said the highlight phrase is sort of the pricing model won't be unusually expensive or unusually inexpensive. Whatever that means in the context of like the film world
Mhm.
for doing effects. But yeah, like up until now, you could build an entire feature length film in Unreal Engine
Hmm.
and pay nothing
Wow.
to use it. So, I mean, that was cool, but also a little unrealistic.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if you're using it at that level, then you probably should pay something for it.
Yes.
So that's a minor update on that. I thought that was interesting.
It never
Hmm.
occurred to me that one would. Oh, I guess at the very end of credits, sometimes there is the Unreal symbol at the bottom.
Yep. Oh,
Usually
it's
Yeah,
actually
it's just-
usually right when you start a game, it'll have like
No,
the
no,
actual-
she's
No,
talking
I
about
mean
film.
the movies.
Oh, right.
it's not uncommon.
Yeah.
I never put two and two together before.
My understanding is it actually used a fair bit with vehicle chase scenes and such.
yeah, that would
because
make sense.
It's detailed enough and free. Wow. I mean, literally free. But
Mhm.
even if you have to pay for it compared to destroying
Your car,
cars,
yes.
it's free.
And only being able to do it once.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's used a fair bit for that, and weather effects and stuff as well.
Cool.
So, but yeah, so apparently they're going to add some pricing for that, which but he said it's going to be a while before they do it, but they wanted to get out in front of it and said like, you know, we're going to do this just so everybody knows we're going to do this. I think they maybe learned a little bit from fucking
Unity. Yeah.
I haven't even looked at what's happening with Unity.
Oh,
I assume
man.
they're
Yeah.
just still fucked, but I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see. Yeah.
Oh, well,
What else did we have on the list?
I don't know, but I have a question that I've thought of while we were talking about Cyberpunk and whatnot.
Sounds good.
peanut butter.
Fair enough.
Delicious.
Mhm.
So we talked. It was kind of skipped over very, very briefly, but waiting when you choose to do like a 1 hour, 2 hour wait to
Yeah,
jump
yeah.
time. What are your opinions on having to go to like a bed or a sleeping bag or something to do that versus just being able to stand outside in some random spot?
I think that the entire system is stupid and that what they should allow you to do is downtime. In the same way that like D&D game, for instance, has the idea of downtime. So for instance, like nobody's just going to wait on a park bench for 24 hours.
Mhm.
They're also not going to stand in the middle of a thing for 24 hours, right? Like for 1 hour, okay, fine. But like any more than that, give me a break. I think you should have options. So it's like I want to kill some time. I want to wait 24 hours for some reason. Cool. What do you want your character to do? Do you want to go to a bar and maybe you overhear something about a possible mission? Or do you want to go and, I don't know, perform? It probably doesn't make sense in Starfield, but like go and perform at a local tavern and make a few coins, or
Have dinner at a local restaurant.
right, like something like go and take one of your companions out for dinner and maybe raise their like you don't have to actively control it. Just like that's what I'm going to do in the hour that I'm waiting. I'm going to go and I'm going to take, Andrea out for a meal and we're going to chat about our backstories and stuff. And, she's going to like me a little bit more afterwards.
And then knock boots.
Well, whatever, right? But like that's what it should be. It should actually contribute to the game. in some way.
Yeah.
So my answer is fuck all of it. Do something useful.
I hadn't even thought of that. Like
Working on your ship to upgrade.
Sure.
It.
Yeah.
Something.
yeah.
Or
Like some almost, well, I guess not quite a mini game, but
Yeah.
well, like tinker and dicker. So if you're at home and like instead of going to your bed, go to a workbench and like instead of wait, like tinker.
Yeah,
You're dicking
Mhm.
around. You're
reduce a recipe's requirements by 3 things or
Yeah.
whatever. Like whatever. Just make it useful, right?
Yeah.
Make it part of the game instead of just I am sitting here perfectly still on a park bench for 4 hours.
yeah.
Like that. I just always thought that was dumb. There's other things you could be doing with
Yeah.
that time.
because Cyberpunk you can just do it wherever. Like there's an option like in the pause
Yeah.
menu where you can just do it whenever. And I think you could in Skyrim
Yeah.
too. Couldn't you?
Yes.
For the record, given the choice between like having to sit down, no, I think you should be able to do it anywhere.
Yeah.
But I think the entire system is just a missed opportunity.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a better response than I was even expecting. I love that.
Yeah, I think it would be better if games started leaning into that kind of stuff.
And it would
Yeah.
also be one of those things too, where like take the tinkering for example, right? So it not by any means would it be a lot, but it could somewhat like increase your skill in that
Sure.
in your tech skill or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, if you're fucking around with your ship, well, your ship just got that little bit much better
Yeah,
or whatever.
absolutely. Yeah. 100%. There's so many options that you could offer with that
Mhm.
sort of stuff. And you could like base it on in a game like Starfield, you could base what you're allowed to do in your wait period. You could base it on what perks you have or whatever. Like there's just so many options for stuff that you could do.
Or just be like Grand Theft Auto and have like a super really fast daytime clock.
Yeah, also an option. But yeah, no, I especially don't like having to like find a chair, especially when they make you watch the sitting animation in the process. But I especially don't like to have to do that. But my answer is, like make it useful. Games should strive to limit the amount of time you are not engaging with the game.
Yeah.
And to a point that I made a while back, games being thought of as like a progress indicator. If I'm just standing there waiting for a thing to tick down, I'm not making any progress. This is just literally wasting my time. It's not providing any enjoyment. So if you give me some ability to progress the game while I'm doing this, I'm a happier gamer.
Mhm.
So
yeah. So you tell us what you think about that kind of
Yeah.
system in games, and let us know what your thoughts are on a bunch of the stuff we talked about today. Have you played Cocoon? Do you like it? What are your thoughts on Starfield? Do you think Starfield would have been better if it was Cyberpunk plus No Man's Sky?
yes.
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 And let me know what you want me to stream after Starfield.
Yeah, I've been talking about doing it, and I think when you're done Starfield, I might just do a run through of the Messenger because I've been talking about it for
Sure.
fucking years now, and I think I should just do it. It's Thanksgiving weekend here in Canada, so right off the hop, if you're Canadian, we hope you have a safe and happy Thanksgiving, and I know I'm thankful to have my beautiful wife and my best friend here.
Yay.
That we get to do this podcast every week. I'm thankful for all of you for watching, listening, or however you interact with us. Thank you.
Especially commenting.
Yeah,
Yes.
and especially commenting. Yeah,
And liking
yeah.
and subscribing
Yes.
and telling
Thank you.
friends.
Yeah. Appreciate you taking your time out of your day to listen to us talk about and sometimes bitch about all courses of various things.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, everybody.
And with that, Sarah.
You just did one.
Yeah, you already did it, man.
Yeah.
I know I did.
You already took us out.
Well, okay, you say goodbye then.
Okay.
Bye.